everybody to the All Equity Podcast with your boy, Kevin Miller. Today's a really special day. The one, the only, Femily is here. What's up?
Kevin! Thanks for having me on. It's so nice to meet you.
This is actually our first time meeting.
Yeah, true. Off the internet. Yeah, and onto Zoom.
On the Zoom.
Yep, that's how it
Awesome.
is.
So tell the people a little bit about what you do exactly and how we connected.
Yeah, so I help tech companies get better for women of all colors and orientations. It's a problem that they have known they've had for a long time, and they don't quite know how to solve it yet. And so I bring in my management consulting prowess, my public relations communications prowess, and everything that I know about gender and cultural studies, which is my degree and my background.
Dope.
Yes. And then I blended those things together with the latest research on women in the workplace from Lean In and McKinsey, made a methodology, because I'm not a researcher, I'm a doer. Right. So I looked at what other people already said 500 companies said was holding back, and to help them implement things to change their companies at the systemic level.
Right.
Yeah. Very
cool. And so what for you, okay, let's bring it back. So for you, how did you even decide that was something you wanted to do? Have you always been that type of person? Where were you, where did you grow up? Did something happen? Like bring us back.
So I always was a feminist, and I was concerned with #white feminist problems when I was little, as a white person growing up in a white neighborhood, white family, white school. The only feminisms that I only thought that sexism was holding women back. And I went along and I had that kind of notion until I went into women's studies in my college for my degree.
Wow.
And luckily, I had all of these Black professors of women's studies who were like, guess what, white students? There's a little something else that sometimes holds women back. And it's racism, and then other isms too, right? But I was like, oh my gosh, thanks for enlightening me. And it made sense once I heard it. I think most people do take a first step with what their personal experience is, right? When you look at even cancer activism, people join the one of the cancer that has affected someone who they love, right? And similarly, like you see the things that have affected your loved ones, right? But once we got it, I was like, oh shit, if I want to be a feminist and help women, I need to help women with every roadblock holding them back. And
so that roadblock you had to remove from yourself. Was there some inner work that had to happen? What was that like in college?
I just wanted to be, I'm a perfectionist. And so I wanted to be perfect at helping women. And so I think I was like, I can't miss a major thing. Like my checklist now has racism. My checklist now has, other things that are holding women back. And so I went full on into that world, and I'm a big learner. So I was like, like a lot of white Americans have been having the past couple of months, this whole moment of like, how did I not see this whole thing? Right. So I had that in college, and it was a whole thing. And it was this whole world of literature and activism and everything that I'd never even looked into. And so it was fascinating. And it was also, heartbreaking, enraging, all the things. It was like just more fuel for my feminist fire that was going at that point.
What was your family thinking at the time?
In my African American women's studies class, it was 101 I took, and I was the only white person in there. And after the class, so the teacher, who's a Black woman, said, write about your family's racial experience in America. And I went to her right after, and I'm so embarrassed about this now, but I went afterwards and I said, well, I'm going to need a different assignment because my family doesn't have racial experience. Like,
I appreciate you keeping it real. Keep it real.
Like, I truly didn't know that every moment of my life had been a raced experience, right? A white privilege experience. Like, I just didn't know. And so thankfully, she did the labor and the professorial duties and all of that of helping me see it. And she made me talk to my family and like ask them about their race. And that was a whole nother tangle of closed eyes and things we hadn't ever talked about before, but it was brilliant and necessary. And now thankfully my whole family is trying to do the anti-racist thing and has been trying.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's not how that story ends a lot.
Yeah, the families say, stop letting that fancy women's college education change your mind, right? That's what usually happens.
Yeah, exactly. Wow, that's dope. So we connected on LinkedIn, just some messaging, and we connected. And then there's this group that I created called the All Equity LinkedIn group.
Love it.
And one of the things I've seen in there is the fact that all of you are doing similar work, but the approach is so different. It's unbelievably different. And so what I want to know from you for sure is like, so far, so I did my homework, and what I saw is, you've done some really great work like for Zendesk and other clients. What has your experience really been so far showing up as you to these trainings? Have you felt the need to have a partner go with you? Have you ever felt a scenario where it was like hard and you just like, I can't do this? Or like, what has that really been like, positive and negative, for you doing that work at these companies?
So when I go in and just talk to them about how to make the experience in their workplace better for women, or I also do better for the LGBT community, I do it from an intersectional standpoint. So I'm talking about race, I'm talking about ability, age, parent status is big in tech. Okay. So I can carry that as a quote unquote expert in the field. But as soon as they say, we're like, over the summer, a lot of my clients were like, we realized we also need to be working a lot more on race. I don't take those. I always hand those off to BIPOC and primarily Black diversity educators. Right. For a million reasons that you would possibly imagine. So I don't need a partner in terms of that.
You just refer them out.
Yeah.
Yeah, because Dr. Jen, I was speaking with her earlier, when she goes to a big corporation, she tends to just only, if she knows that's going to happen, Jen will just show up with a BIPOC person with her.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
But you will show up by yourself sometimes, yeah?
Only if it's about
within those tech kind of engagements.
Yeah, in the tech engagements where they're trying to talk about, like, we're losing women of all colors are leaving our company and we don't know why, and we don't want to have it be this way. How can you help us? Yeah.
Got it.
Yeah, I go in there because it's not just training. So you spoke to the diversity field being pretty, or the equity field being pretty wide. It's a little bit of a wild west in terms of all,
for sure. For sure.
Yeah, all the people hanging up a shingle and saying, I'm doing this work, and there's not a national standard or a certain training program to go through. And so, what I find, I mean, companies don't have a lot of patience for spending money on diversity stuff that works, let alone diversity stuff that doesn't work. And by work, I mean that, like, you can see in the data, like, it is slow.
The ROI.
Yeah. So all that stuff. So they barely have any money or attention for the stuff that works. And they're really quick to get diversity fatigue if one person comes in and there's not a lot of effect. So that I do worry about. We're at a point in the field where we haven't coalesced around a common set of practices, or we are coalescing, if maybe we're coalescing. And so that's dangerous for the diversity burnout, for companies getting burnt out on stuff, because everyone comes in with a different philosophy. It's different than accounting, where you know if you have a good one or not, even if you're not. Yeah.
That's a really good point. So how do you feel, I'm sure you saw the article from Trump and him banning the, diversity training for federal agencies. How do you feel like the implications of that are going to affect the field?
I mean, I'm literally sending my newsletter this afternoon, and I'm like, we know that that's BS. It's now time to say, hell no, Trump, and for you to hire a diversity consultant right now and start doing even more training. Yeah, so.
Yeah, I mean, my marketing brain has been going quite a bit, but I'm holding back because I like to let others speak first, because my voice tends to carry quite a bit, so I like to let everybody else go first, get all the good ideas, and then I hit them where it hurts,
I love it. No, I mean, it's like, I don't know how to pinpoint which one of his things is the most nonsense of all and the most harmful of all, but I mean, this is pretty far up there, like right in the middle of the world's largest civil rights movement that's ever happened, and the world's largest moment of companies realizing that they need to retain Black talent and include diversity in everything they're doing from an ROI perspective. He's now doing that. I mean, who knows how much diversity training he even had going on at the federal level for starters. Like, is he even canceling anything? That's a good question. And second of all, because what he's saying doesn't have anything to do with what the private sector is doing.
Right. A lot of so when I first saw that, I saw I didn't see the word about the federal part.
Oh, yeah.
So I thought, oh, my clients are messed right now. Oh, we gotta figure something out immediately. And then I saw the whole thing. Oh, wait a second. Hold on, so you good?
Right. Oh my gosh, though. And calling it anti-American. I mean, there's just so much in there, right? I mean, we've seen that. I mean, Beyonce made popular that poster that's been at every rally that says that racism is so American that when we protest against it, people think we're protesting against America. Similarly, because Trump thing said, you can't talk about if it talks about white privilege, it's anti-American. Right, which is again, like, white privilege is so American that if we talk about it and try to dismantle it, then it means that we're anti-American. No.
Right.
Yeah, but that's of course his perspective. Yeah.
So for you right now, with your clients, what type of conversations tend to keep coming up, and what are the difficult ones?
Yeah. Woo,
I know there's emotional labor there. Talk to me.
It's crazy because people are getting bullied and bullied online in this new Zoom environment. So the things that were happening in the workplace, on the one hand, it's a lot better for a lot of people. Like, a lot of folks who have disabilities that make it harder to commute to work, it's way better to be at your house during the workday. And for people who do have a toxic environment in terms of race or orientation, it's better to not be physically in the space with the person. But if you still are on Zoom all day and chat and, all of the Slack all day, people's inner demons are going to come across whatever channels they have. Before, they used to walk by your desk with all that bad energy. Now they're just in your Slack. Yeah, so that's a shift of the same thing. For companies, white-led companies that I'm advising feel a little bit like they can't do anything right. They tried too hard and too cringily to post a black square and do other type of similar performative things that anyone who's black that was working in the company was like, oh, now you care? What about me suffering in cubicle number 3? Obviously, yeah, that's what's real, is companies are now having to deal with the fact that they made all these scrambling moves in June, calling together. I had a client, before they even contacted me, they didn't think, anyways, they should have thought twice and called me in, but they just called a whole community town hall of every employee and asked them how they felt about race. You're supposed to share it in front of everyone. And that's not an uncommon client. They did that because all of their peers were doing it. It's a nightmare. And then they were like, well, we didn't hear any problems. We must be great. Every problem. So problematic.
Talk to them, family.
Oh, yeah. So, and then also white fragility, which by the way, I saw in your LinkedIn group, you said you have no room for white fragility, and I love that.
I'm so glad you liked that post. That made my day when you liked that. I was like, yes.
I love it. It's so good. And now I think we're at a point where people who are trying to be or pretend to be enlightened know about white fragility. There's like a tipping point in the white community where now we can't not talk about it. Like obviously the Black community knew about white fragility a long time before Rob and D'Angelo wrote that book, right? But now we know. And so I think I'm gonna take that. I'll credit you. I'm gonna take it for my future thought leader group that I'm about to run, because it's 50% BIPOC, 50% white, and everyone's all the white people are well-meaning feminists, but you can be well-meaning and still have your tears dismantle a whole meeting. So I'm going to put
honestly, like one of the things I realized too is like, even though my lived experience as a Black man, you know, may trump a lot of people in terms of level of expertise on DEI or whatever, I'm still nowhere near, you know, the people that have PhDs in this stuff and that are doing this every day. I'm still a marketer. I'm still a Black man, you know, an entrepreneur, right? So there's always room for growth, like everybody, all of us.
Totally. I couldn't agree more. I mean, like, to realize we may be an expert on one thing, right? Maybe a lived experience thing or a PhD thing, right? But there's all the other things where we're still learning, right? Yeah, yeah, for sure. Oh, can I tell you about something else?
Yes, please do.
So, okay. So one other awakening that I recently had, which was courtesy of amplify Black voices, listen to Black voices, right? Fully immersing in everyone on social media and everything, was about, I finally heard it, was able to hear it, was in the space to hear it, about white people, it's time for you to get your white people in line. And I was like, I hear this in a new way. You know, when you're ready for the thing, you're ready for the thing. So anyways, I organized an event for white women to teach other white women how to convince their loved ones not to vote for Trump.
Ow.
There were, 150 white women on that call, because white women are the only racial group that voted in more for Trump than for the other candidate last time. Every other racial group voted for Democrat. Anyways, so I was like, this is our fault and we can do something about it and we need to. And who are these white women voting for Trump? They're in our families. Like, they have to be. They're in someone white's family.
This is hot.
So I personally don't quite know how to convince white family members to not vote for Trump. I don't have any. So I got 4 people together who do know, who have convinced their family, from the deep South, from the Midwest, from both coasts, in different, you know, Republican or a wealthy family or whatever. And they taught us, and I'm making it into a very short YouTube. I'll share it with you. But it was awesome. And so now I'm this ripple effect thing.
You gonna do a course on it?
Yeah, right?
Yeah,
I know.
Come on, come with it.
Oh, man. I think you're right.
Like, you know, you go into a training, have your deck of that or something like that, or a pre-recorded video. Yeah, that'd be dope.
Yes.
That'd be dope, because I need to see that.
Yeah.
I want to know what that looks like. Like, I've never actually seen, in all honesty, I've never really seen somebody have their, you know, their come to Jesus moment like that. Right. As a Black person, I've never experienced that.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
That'd be powerful.
It takes long, heartfelt conversation, many heartfelt conversations over time, where you're not trying to change the person's core beliefs of like, I value women, or I value nature or something. You're just trying to show how the other candidate doesn't fit into that profile.
So it's really about educating them about outside things, not internal things.
Totally. And getting beyond the rhetoric, not trying to parse through like guns or reproductive rights. Like, those, you'll never get anywhere. Those have already been well worn into these specific arguments. You almost can't talk about them in other ways. Yeah. But it's like saying, like, one person was like, oh, hey Dad, I know that you are a fan of strong women. You raised 3 strong daughters, and I'm wondering how that matches with how Trump treats women. And then they were able to have a more nuanced, sweet conversation, because it was
I
about humans
see.
he knew and loved, as opposed to strangers.
Wow.
I know. Yeah.
Wow. I
Mm-hmm.
wonder if in that moment they felt a need to, like, internally, if there was like this white guilt, or if there was like an honest transformation. Either way is okay, honestly, in terms of like, because being called out like that is not easy. I'm not gonna
No.
sit here and act like it is. You know what I mean? So like,
Yeah.
I wonder if someone going through that experience and that full transformation, like how much of that is guilt, or like trying to perform for a loved one or something like that, and how much of that is like true inner work.
Yeah.
And I feel like it's probably a little bit of both.
A lot of it all, right? I mean,
Yeah.
the people who spoke on there were saying they picked people who they quote unquote converted a long time ago. And so the people have now been slowly talking more about their values and things that are more, I guess, on the Democrat side or whatever, and not so
Mm-hmm.
Trumpy. And so it's clear that they have made the real conversion. But yes, I mean, you're sort of tapping at the idea of performativity and all of that
Yeah.
stuff, like pretty big right now. Yeah.
And I was just talking to Jen about this, and
Yeah.
yeah, you actually, I'll tell you the story. So when the yeah, this I'm sorry, this messed me up when she told me. That's why I'm struggling. Okay.
Yeah.
So when slaves came, right?
Yeah.
There was, of course, there's like different families, historic families, right, that were a part of that.
Yep.
The first coming, Mayflower, blah, blah, blah. So basically, one of the primary people that was the first people there, you know, welcoming the slaves and all that, was Jen's ancestor.
Whoa.
And Jen is one of the most powerful. Jen is actually, if you were to look at it, like in terms of credibility and like reach and all that, it goes Robin DiAngelo, Jen.
Whoa.
Okay, so they're friends. They're friends. I just talked with Jen.
Oh.
And so like just us having this deep conversation about like, that was my first time hearing that directly from her.
Yeah.
Or from Jen, sorry.
Yeah.
From Jen, and how that made me feel like as a Black person, but also knowing like Jen's character,
right,
how opposite it is.
Yeah.
And the nuances there, like of the guilt on top of the, Jen honestly said that the guilt factor is not the reason why she does this work.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
It's actually a part of the way Jen was brought up.
Yeah.
Being trans and
yeah,
not feeling like you fit in. Like it's not really the guilt thing, the white guilt thing. It was like way deeper than that. I was just so
right.
mind blown. I was like, your ancestors are the ones who welcomed my great grandparents who were slaves.
Yeah. Dude.
It's like, oh my gosh.
Yeah, that's a lot to hold.
Ooh. So that was my last conversation a couple hours ago.
Ooh.
But yeah, just even bringing that up is like, whoo.
I know. Oh my God. Have you read? You're reading Resmu's book, or have you read it? My Grandmother's Hands. Yeah, he talks a lot about how we store all this in our bodies, whether or not we know those stories. And like you hold it from all your generations that have ever been here in your cells and in your ways of being. And you almost don't even need to know it. And that we're like,
wow,
carrying all that. And he's a very mind, body, spirit person. So he helps you work through it and breathe through it and flush it out so that you can have some hope of I mean, he says different things. He talks to police, Black folks, and white folks, and there's different goals for getting free of what's in your cells for each of the three groups. But Resmu so good.
Okay, I'm gonna check that out.
Yeah.
Yeah, that like she started crying too. I was like, oh man, this is crazy because I don't actually understand or know. I feel like Jen made like the ultimate sacrifice, right? I feel like there's only as a white person, you're gonna do this work, right?
Yep.
There's an understanding and the engagement that part of it is one, self-serving, and the other part of it is healing and transformative.
Yep.
It comes with the work. You got to know that.
Sure.
Right?
Yeah.
But when that extra layer of like almost direct responsibility gets thrown on there, it's kind of like, what do you do with that? Because it doesn't belong with you. And a lot of white folks, that's part of the reason why they kind of just throw that guilt away, because it's like, well, that was in the past. That was the slave owner. That has nothing to do with me. Right. And it's like, are you right or are you not right? Or how much of that, what are you supposed to do? Like, what are your thoughts on that? Like, if you were in that situation, what would you feel like is your moral obligation?
Well, I feel like white people in America will do anything to be like, I'm not that person whose grandparents were the ones facilitating enslavement, right? Will say, but I'm Jewish, but I'm working class, but I had a mean father, but I didn't have a good education. Like, there's barely any white people left that have to atone for anything or have to pay reparations. Once white people are able to say the reasons, my time as an Irish person, my grandmother's time as an Irish person was difficult. My Italian grandma got called garlic at school. Like, these are not parallels to the African-American experience to enslavement. Like, what
would you say to someone that goes, well, what about, I get this a lot. What about, the Jewish experience in the Holocaust? When people say that though.
What would I say about if it was tough or not? Like, what part about what would I say?
So like, someone might be having this conversation, they'll go, okay, well, they'll say like, well, I'm not responsible, da 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 da, and my parents are Jewish, so I understand.
Yep.
Right? So like that walk me through what they're experiencing and how you as an expert unpack that.
Yeah. So it falls under, I mean, Jews and race it's like a tricky thing. But for the most part in American history, Jews have been heavily arm in arm with the African-American community in terms of the civil rights struggle. Like, almost all the white people you see on the bridge are Jewish people, right? So there's that. And like, just because your grandparents went through the Holocaust doesn't mean that 10 years later you weren't read as a white person in America and read as someone in the upper caste, as Isabel Wilkinson's saying in her book Caste, right? That you weren't fitting into the upper caste, which has automatic meaning for Black folks in America who are not in the upper caste, right?
Gotcha.
So you can have shitty, awful, horrifying things happen in your white family history or your white Jewish family history, and still be like, poor white people in Appalachia don't have the funnest time, but they still have more of a privileged situation than Black folks in America, and everyone should be a part of a reparations scheme, because first of all, the economy was built on enslaved labor, free labor, the entire economy, which is now infiltrated through how come big businesses can't imagine a way to run in America without underpaying people, barely paying them no living wages, right, at Walmart, etc. There's no out. There's no, you're cool enough, you're the cool white person, you don't have to be responsible for this. You're the white person who had a hard life. That means you don't have to be responsible for this. Like, it's all of our duty.
Gotcha.
Just like,
Gotcha.
yeah. Yeah.
That's a tough one. That's a tough one because I get that one a lot. Like, we're the same. My parents went through, and I'm not even gonna lie right now. You know, I've been in a situation where other factors were involved. I didn't feel like calling that person out.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And
yeah.
and that was one of those moments. I was like, damn, I wish I called him out.
I know. I hate that moment.
You know what I'm saying? Sometimes
I
there's
know.
certain situations where it's like, are you about to be the angry black dude and turn up right now or no?
I know.
Right? And so, yeah, I'm recalling, like, it's playing back in my memory right now when someone, you know, a millionaire, and oh, Kevin, you just get me, and my parent, you know, my Jewish ancestry, so I understand I'm not like those other people. And I'm just, I wanted to be so honest with him in that moment. It just really wasn't the right time right then. So I'm hoping to have that conversation with that person at a later time because we've been friends for so long.
Yeah.
And there's so many other good things in there.
For sure.
Right? Sometimes it's just not the right moment to call someone out right then.
Yeah. I mean,
you know?
For sure, white people do ask me if they are exempt or if because they take it, it's actually coming from the other way. They're like, I don't think I do have privilege, they say, because I, whatever, grew up on a farm and we didn't have electricity or whatever the thing is that people say. And it's like, okay, well, a lot of people of all colors grew up on a farm with no electricity. You didn't also have racism coming at you. Like, there are, when you think about privilege, it's like, sure, everybody has a bad, so a lot of people have a bad childhood and a lot of people have travel stress or a lot of people get fired from a job, like 3 different things that could happen to different people. It's just that on top of that, you don't also have the crush of racism. That's a privilege to be able to go through life's ups and downs without racism also stirred in there.
Yeah. I think for me too, one of the difficult things I encounter a lot is what is it's almost like there's this meter for being an ally. It's like a bar. It's like a performative thing. And I wonder sometimes, I say, okay, if I'm honest in this moment and say, you know what, I don't really care how performative you are as an ally, but thank you. You know what I'm saying? Like, is it, do you feel like it's Black people's responsibility to kind of give that assurance that everything is right, like you're a good white ally? Like, how do you feel about that whole? That's another tricky one. That's another tricky one.
Let's see. I don't think it's Black people. Yeah, I don't think it's Black people's responsibility to tell white people that they're being good allies. I think when a Black person does tell me, thanks for doing that back then, I didn't want to do that another time, whatever it was. Like, it feels good and I take it in and it fuels me. I'll still be going without that fuel, but I also know from, and not everything, most translations between race and gender like fall flat in some way, but sometimes what helps me understand race is thinking quickly through gender. I would hate to have to soothe the male ego all day telling them they're being good allies. I wouldn't like that.
That's a great analogy.
Yeah, I think they should keep doing it without me soothing them. And also, in our present world, I know that my remarks to a male CEO that says, in truth, I think you did a good job by extending the search and bringing in and waiting until you had awesome women in the pipeline. Sometimes it takes longer. Like, that was a move that not all of your male peers would do. And I applaud you for that. I know that goes a long way. So as a tool, I do it, but not as something that's going to drain me and take me out of my work.
Yeah, I agree. Right now, given like it's almost like there's two pandemics. Well, there is really, right?
Yeah.
It's like a social one and COVID. So I wonder for you in regards to your personal life,
Yeah.
do you feel the weight of both, or does one weigh heavier for you right now?
I mean, I'm not worried about the medical pandemic in terms of like, I'm worried about its impact on the Black community and the brown community and on workers who have to go to work for sure. But that's like a social justice concern. I don't know about concerned. I'm very in tune with what white people are doing with all of their Black squares on Instagram. I'm in a bit of a panic, to be honest, to try to maintain the energy and the momentum for white people to help white people keep going and keep their eyes open and realize, and like just keep as awake as they were, you know, in June and May. Yeah, I just don't see the same energy around it anymore. And it's both devastating and not surprising at all about it. I'm not surprised. And also I do see some changes that I don't think would, those 2 weeks around George Floyd's murder, there was just so much more potential. And then it, you know, like any movement, it's the pendulum swings, then it swings back. But I think more white people are now making it their work than ever before. I mean, I even saw my mom, like she would listen before when I would be talking about racism and, which is different than talking about whiteness, to be sure. Like white people are fine talking about racism, but let's just not talk about white privilege, right? So anyways, she's now here to talk about and do stuff like without my telling her there's a rally. She made a sign and went to a rally at her old folks' home and was doing that. And she joined a group called her old folks' home against racism. And so she's doing it on her own, which is different. Yeah, but I do feel the crush. It's not a disappointment, but it's people losing interest, white people losing interest.
So what's interesting about that is my experience is the opposite. And the reason why, two things. I have a heart condition. So COVID is on my mind more so than George Floyd because I can die today.
Totally. Yes.
So COVID, right? It also affects the heart severely if you get it. So my girlfriend, you know, always scared for me, that kind of thing. If someone goes outside of the house and then comes back and then, you know, and then yesterday I got sick, not COVID, but just the cold. And so that's why my frequency is a little lower than normal. You probably don't know that, but
I'm just like, oh, voice.
Yeah, my throat's a little, you know. And so what's been interesting is, as a Black person, and this is just my experience, I'm not saying this for all Black people, but for me, you know, for the social part, I'm pretty numb. I continue to do the work silently and do what I do, empowering you, empowering other consultants, you know what I mean? But in my personal life, I'm definitely numb. And unfortunately, the medical side of the pandemic has been more on my mind just because of the directness to how it relates to my personal life. That would probably be different if I didn't have a heart condition like that. You know what I mean?
Yeah, for sure.
So that's what's been really interesting. I ask people that. It's like, how are you in your personal life? What's really affecting you? And it sounds like for you, it's more the social.
Yeah, I mean, I'm doing my thing, like wear a mask every second, don't give other people COVID, all that stuff. Like it's affecting my life, but like not in a way where, Yeah. I thought you were going to say, because you know how I said, I'm worried that white people are losing steam, and you said I have the other way. I thought you were going to tell me all you see is white people not losing steam.
Nope.
And I was like, is it because they're just going over to you and they're like, well, look what I did. Look what kind of thing. And they're not telling you, they're like performing this in front of you.
No, I'm one of those kind of deep thinker guys. So you gotta hear the back end usually from my I got a nice back end. Let's put it like that.
Oh my gosh. I have so many people to connect you to now that I know you, because so I run this program called Future Thought Leader, and people join it when they want to make a difference in the world through elevating themselves and finally stepping into leadership. And it's self-promotion, and it's like starting your business or starting your consulting thing, blah, blah, blah. Because of the work that I do, it attracts a lot of diversity consultants.
Oh, cool.
Yes. So I'm going to introduce you to a bunch of these consultants because they'll love your work and they need your help.
Okay, perfect. And yeah, we have a really dope program too. So I'll make sure you get compensated 10%.
Oh my gosh. So nice. We're
gonna talk about money on the podcast.
Love it. Oh my gosh. Ladies get paid.
So tell me where you grew up. I want to hear this story. So you grew up in a suburban neighborhood too?
You know, I grew up in the rural white person lifestyle in upstate New York, way outside of Syracuse, New York. There were only 600 people in our town. Yeah, that's it.
Wow. I thought, because I remember you said something about the suburbs earlier, but you were talking about college or something like that.
Yeah, let's see. What was I talking about? The suburbs.
Yeah, I don't remember what you said about it. It was suburbs something.
I try to avoid the suburbs. I like living. Now I live downtown and in downtown Sacramento. Yeah. Where do you live? I don't even know where you live.
Yeah. I'm in Seattle.
Oh, cool. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Good.
So I grew up in 20 miles from Bill Gates' house. It's Winville, Washington, wine country. So okay. I know how to do the white thing, you know what I mean? My code switching is very high, but on my podcast and in my personal life and when I'm talking to people like you, I refuse to do that.
Good.
So I've been doing that, and I walked away from corporate land and I'm never going back.
Oh
so
my
you're getting
God.
the real Kevin right now. You're getting the real Kevin, not the Nice to meet you, Emily. How you doing today?
No.
Can we talk about the ROIs from last meeting? Absolutely.
Oh my God, no.
So I prefer to show up as the real me now. And you know, when I was in Microsoft, and you know, for a time, I thought that's what I wanted to do, was climb that corporate ladder there.
Yeah.
And you know, what happened is I had my sudden cardiac arrest that happened last year in August. Yeah. I woke up 3 days later. I basically died. I was playing basketball. My heart completely stopped. I died. And then they resuscitated me, and I woke up 3 days later. And I lost my memory from those days. And then went back to Microsoft, new contract gig, didn't tell anybody. And then they let go of my position January of this year. Whoa. And I never went back. I was like, I'm doing this full time. It's like, let's go.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. And so basically when I woke up, the craziest part is I've never been that upset with myself in my whole life, because I felt like I lived my entire life, died, pretending to be somebody I didn't even want to be. So I was just mad. I was like, I know who I am and what I want to do in this world, which has changed thousands of people's lives, and I'm doing that now. But that was so far from the road I was on. I was just going up the marketing ladder.
Yes, right.
You know, get that corporate gig, be grateful. You're a black kid at a tech company, be grateful. You know? Oh man, that's not who I want to be.
Yikes. Oh my gosh. Well, welcome to the real life.
Woo! Welcome.
Yes. Oh my gosh, I love it. Oh my gosh. I got to introduce you to my social media strategist, Dalia, who was literally last week was like, I want to start a Black marketers group like some kind of thing for Black people in marketing who are doing their own marketing thing. So anyways, you two should connect. I'll introduce you to.
Cool.
Oh my God.
Oh. So when did you start your practice?
Right after the Trump election.
Yeah.
I was doing regular management consulting before that.
Yeah.
Helping companies scale up, scale down, you know, move into this market, blah, blah, blah. And then I was like, well, this has no meaning. I don't care about this at all. And then I was like, I can help companies. Now that I know how to help companies go from point A to point B, I can help them go from point A to point B on the most tricky thing of all, which is humans. And it's diversity, which companies poo-poo, because they poo-poo everything in HR and also things that have to do
HR
with
is a dangerous place. Woo!
Oh my God.
Oh my goodness.
Oh my God. Wait, I have a new service line for you that I think you should offer based on.
What you got for me? Hold on.
I'm not even kidding. No, seriously.
Okay, I'm listening.
Every diversity consultant that I know, the first thing that they need, I mean, for starters, they definitely need all the marketing help for sure.
Yep.
But and web and whatever, they need virtual assistants who can take a piece of the pie. You already have that?
Yeah, multiple of my clients we already hired them for them. Yeah.
Oh my God.
We're the best at it. We're really good at it, actually. So
okay, great.
After this at 3 o'clock. Yeah. So at 3 o'clock, I have another interview with a virtual assistant in the Philippines.
Oh my God. Okay, great.
I have 3 assistants myself.
Yeah. I'm sure.
So no, that's part of that's part of what we do is teaching equitable outsourcing.
Oh, that's
and we hire virtual assistants. Like Neil, I just hired for my Client Equity Institute, and Neil manages Vincent's email for Vincent has 10 emails.
Yeah.
And so he'll wake up, hey, how's it going? This is what you got to tackle today. And he'll reply, and it's dope. It's so dope. So we hire and train. It's called the All Virtual Program. So cool. we hire and train a virtual assistant to do whatever you need, and we support for 90 days, and it's $2,500. So yeah, we've been doing that for a while.
Great. Oh my God. Okay, everyone I know needs you. This is awesome. Okay.
So we'll make it happen. I'm with it. You know I'm with it.
Oh yeah, for sure. I would happily send anyone to you. Yeah.
And we use Slack too. We have a Slack channel. It's really cool. All of our clients. It's like the LinkedIn group kind of, but it has all my team members, everybody. So it's cool.
Oh my gosh. So good. Yeah. So good. Very good.
You're so dope, man.
Oh my God. Likewise. This has been so great. Thank you for having me on. This has been so nice to meet you. It didn't even feel like a podcast, because usually podcast people are like, tell us your whole story.
I wasn't debating, but people were telling me, well, you got to be poised and do all this. And I was like, you know how I feel. Sorry, you know what?
You know how much energy that would take?
Oh.
Yeah, no, for sure. Yeah. Oh man, that's tricky. I mean, people always want to know, how much of myself can I bring to the table? How much code switching can I do? Do I have to do it when I'm in there with a billion-dollar founder? Do I have to? Yes,
those are hard situations. Those are hard situations, especially my age, being young and being Black. It's like that double. It's
I know.
I don't
yes.
know this room.
For sure. You need to start spray painting your hair silver.
I want to look like Dennis Rodman.
Yes. Oh my gosh. You can crush that ageism in a flash with just one of those.
That'd be great. Oh man. I'm gonna get a wig. I'm about to go buy a wig.
Oh, perfect. Oh man. Whew.
What you got going the rest of the day?